I'm Victor Glover, NASA astronaut and pilot for the NASA Crew 1 mission to the International Space Station. My role on the Crew 1 mission is to first safely get us to the space station. We are flying a new spacecraft, the Crew Dragon, made by SpaceX. And once we get to the space station, as a member of the expedition, we'll be conducting research, lots of scientific experiments, some of them ongoing, some of them that we'll bring up with us, and also to do spacewalks, robotic operations, outreach events, and the maintenance and upkeep of our International Space Station.
That's fantastic.
Crew 1 is the designator for the first operational mission of the SpaceX Crew Dragon. So it's a new vehicle, and so Crew 1 is the first Crew Dragon fully operational mission. And so that's the crew, the 4 of us that are going to the space station, similar to a Soyuz crew with 2 or 3 folks on board that become the other half of an expedition. So we'll also be a part of the expedition on the International Space Station. Crew 1 consists of Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi and myself, and together we represent NASA's Crew 1 mission to the International Space Station. You know, it's a great honor, first and foremost, and looking at all their experience, it makes me, one, comfortable that there's so much experience and so many ways that I can learn from them, but also it motivates me to be ready and able to do my job and to take care of my responsibilities, because you know, I know that I can ask them a question and they'll be able to help me learn or do anything that we need to do on the station. But at the same time, I want to be ready and able to contribute, and so it's just great to have so much experience there to the left and the right. I am surrounded by love and support, and it's humbling and overwhelming sometimes. My mother and father are so excited about this mission. I'm actually amazed at how much my father keeps up with what's going on in the space station. He'll often clue me into something. Oh, I didn't realize that was happening this week, because I was busy off training. And so I'm excited that they're so excited. My grandparents are excited about being here, and that really means a lot to me. My grandfather was in the Air Force during the Korean conflict, and so to be able to know he's going to be there and watch us launch, and to see the progress of our mission, really it warms my heart. And then my wife and kids, the support and love they give to not just me and the crew, but to each other, knowing that they're going to have to take care of each other while we're on the space station. And then the fact that it takes thousands of people all over the world to get us ready. Our operational and technical and language instructors, our crew secretaries and admin and logistics support. There's just this team, this worldwide team that it takes to get us ready, and we're representatives of them. And so again, it's humbling and overwhelming, and I want to do my best because I represent them, but I am surrounded by love and support. No, we are getting ready to fly a new spacecraft to the International Space Station for 6 months, and that is a mouthful. It may sound like, hey, it's a nice soundbite, but it took so much. We've been working with our partner SpaceX for years to develop this spacecraft and the capability to fly it and operate it safely. We've been running the space station for 2 decades, keeping it habitable and keeping it running, improving the capability to do science there, which requires upkeep. It's not brand new. And so to be able to fly a new spacecraft to our home of almost 2 decades in low Earth orbit is just an amazing accomplishment, and we are the next wave. We've had human beings in low Earth orbit in November of this year, on November 2nd. That is the 20-year anniversary of human presence in low Earth orbit, continuous human presence. And so we will be that next chapter, that continuation of continuous human presence in low Earth orbit, and that is an amazing responsibility and privilege. Oh, what does family mean? Family is it's the foundation of all of this. It's the reason that I can do what I'm doing now. And so, having been in the Navy for 22 years, it's definitely been a family adventure. My wife is amazing. She's a superhero, in my opinion. I've deployed several times in the Navy on an aircraft carrier, and we had kids every time, a different amount of kids each time. But she has been an amazing mother and support for me as well. And so, again, knowing that they're going to be there to support me that we'll be in touch, able to email and call and video chat, but then also that they're so important to supporting each other through this and also having fun with it. I mean, we're going to make it fun as well. We've got some games and some books that we're going to read or to play together while I'm in space, instead of just having a phone call where, hey, how was your day? How was your day? We're going to try to do some unique things with that time that we have, since it's so unique. But I think my family is excited, and that's exciting for me, because my goal in this entire endeavor was to make sure that it continued to be a family adventure, that they look back on this time with fondness and not as that, hey, that was that stressful period where Dad was gone a lot and then he left for 6 months. And so I really want them to enjoy this and to dig into to feel their role in it was so important, which it is.
So true.
I think the overriding thing that I've got going on right now is just focus, the importance of focus. There are a lot of things that want to steal our attention, and so from the very beginning, a little over 2 years ago, when we knew this was coming, I had a talk with my family and told them that NASA's going to get me ready to fly in space. My job is to get them ready, and I've tried really hard to stick to that. And right now, that is even more so my focus as we finish these last months of training. So just trying to stay focused. I think we've all, our crew, Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi, and myself, I think we've done the training and we've done well gelling and working together. And so now just making sure that we're doing the right things. There's a lot of discussions and things going on and traveling amidst these the pandemic, and keeping our families safe. And so, like I said, a lot of things to distract you, and it's just important to make sure that we're still getting the right things done.
No doubt. Like.
And so my family, I try hard not to burden them with a whole lot of work when I come home. I like to engage in the things that they're doing as well. But at the same time, I want them to appreciate what's going on. Like these last few months, I've been doing a lot of science, and I try to take pictures and document what I'm doing so that I can send them pictures and share with them what some of the contraptions that I have to wear around, and thermal imaging pictures I've taken recently, which look pretty cool. But so I think they're excited, but they also realize that there's still quite a long way to go. Dad's got a lot of travel and a lot of training to do between now and then. But they are looking forward to eventually getting out to Kennedy Space Center and watching a launch, and seeing all of this kind of come to fruition, something that we've been working really hard on. And then being able to be in touch, them understanding that we have the ability to communicate via teleconference technology, and that I can make a phone call and call any of them on their cell phones or on the home phone is important. So they understand that we'll be in contact for the 6 months that I am up there as well. So they're excited. We've been doing this for a long time, though, so they also realize that there's still quite a bit of time before we launch, and just trying to, again, make sure that in these last few months we're focused and doing the right thing so that we get to launch and we're all ready to go, and that stress is at a minimum.
No doubt. It's probably part of the goal as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. My oldest kid is 17. She just finished her junior year in high school. And so, our launch date is going to be right around just after school starts. So just after the beginning of her senior year. And then my landing date will be, sometime hopefully before spring break, but before the graduation, which is important. So that's kind of in terms of schedule, you don't want to put schedule pressure on yourself. The spacecraft and rocket will be ready to launch when it's ready to launch. But every day we delay, that's what I'm thinking about, is it's one day closer to my kid's graduation. And so I would love to be here for it, but we've had a talk, and I told her if I have to, watch from space, that would be pretty cool too. It'll be memories, something for us to talk about later. But yeah, it's definitely important to be there for the family, because they're going to spend so much time working with NASA to be there for us. Demo 2 and Crew 1. First of all, Demo 2 has to happen and be successful for Crew 1 to be able to get off the ground. And so their mission is going to be a major part of certifying this vehicle for continued use to the space station. So that is key. But there will be some differences. From the outside, it will look very similar. One of the major differences is we will be a full expedition complement, so about a 6-month stay on the space station. And our vehicle has a few differences, improvements that SpaceX has made in the way that they make these vehicles. And so again, from the outside, it will look very similar, but on the inside, a few differences. But our crew complement, once we get up there, Bob and Doug, 2 people made up the Demo 2 crew. Our crew is 4. That's all the seats in the Crew Dragon, and that brings up the ability to more efficiently and effectively conduct spacewalks, robotic operations, and all those other things that we talked about, the science, the outreach. And so again, we will bring a full crew complement. We will have a 6 to 7 person crew on board the International Space Station, and then because of Demo 2, we will be able to continuously provide crews to and from the space station safely from Kennedy Space Center. The goals of the Crew 1 mission. We want to get our Crew Dragon spacecraft to the space station and home safely. Flying the spaceship is one piece, and 2 very important phases that will be separated by 6 months. But in between, there's also the very important mission of being on the International Space Station. We will conduct spacewalks to upgrade and keep the space station flying and healthy. We will do maintenance inside to keep the space station running. We will use that orbiting laboratory to conduct science, or really to do the hands-on part of the science experiments that happen on space station in conjunction with our principal investigators on the ground. And we will also conduct outreach events to talk to people all over the world about the amazing things that are going on in low Earth orbit, and hopefully supporting our trips beyond low Earth orbit. And so our goal is to provide trained crew for a 6-month expedition to again continue that human presence in low Earth orbit.
Fantastic.
At a very high level, when I got assigned, my wife and I were actually on vacation, and we had some time to just talk. There's just the 2 of us about what this meant for our family and what it meant for us individually. And so I came up with, I guess, 3 perspectives or goal priorities. And so one was to keep things simple, and to keep things flexible, and to keep stress low. And so I think that is what puts me in the best position to be ready no matter what, how things change, or if they don't change, to do my job in that environment. But it also helps my family to handle what's coming, given that this is the first time that we're all doing this. If we heap a bunch of expectations onto it and things don't go according to expectation, that creates stress. And so for us, it's keeping it really simple, asking lots of questions to our experienced crewmates and their families, and to the trainers, and to each other, and not assuming that we know what's coming, and just making sure that we are on the same page as we learn more. So keeping it simple, flexible, and low stress. That's been my overriding goal. I was selected to be a part of the 2013 astronaut candidate class, and we showed up at Johnson Space Center in August of 2013.
That's awesome.
I was sitting at my desk in the Russell Senate Office building when I worked for John McCain, and I got a phone call from a Houston phone number, and I grabbed my cell phone, I ran out in the hallway, and by the time I answered, I missed it. And so I called back, and after a lot of waiting and being transferred, I was transferred to Janet Kavandi, who was the chair of our board, and she asked me if I wanted to come to Houston and commence training, and that was awesome. And so it was unreal, standing in the Senate Office building in that rotunda by the statues, all the marble. It was amazing. So I tell John McCain, I go into his office and I tell him, I've got good news and I've got some bad news, sir. And he says, let me guess, you're going to go be an astronaut, right? And I was like, yes, sir, which means I got to leave early. And so that was the good news and the bad news. And it turns out he had actually found out from one of the Kelly brothers, because he was the Arizona senator, and they were back in Arizona, and they had received the list beforehand. And so I thought I was going to go in and surprise him with it. But that actually wound up being a really good conversation. And one of the things he said to me then was, he said, you help America get our spacecraft capability to launch our American astronauts from American soil. You help NASA do that. And so it's really a special honor and a privilege to be a part of the commercial crew program doing just that. We graduated from astronaut candidate training on July 8th of 2015, and that date is significant for a couple of reasons. It was the day we got our pins. We got our astronaut pins on July 8th, 2015, which is the same day the New Horizons spacecraft had completed its billions of miles journey to Pluto to take high-resolution images of the surface of Pluto, and that was the first day we got a picture taken. So a pretty special day. Why did I become an astronaut? Wow, that goes way back. So high school, athlete, loved being a part of a small high-performing team, wrestling and football. Definitely wanted to play sports in college. Went to college, was fortunate to wrestle in college while pursuing my engineering education. And so that experience impacted what I thought I wanted to do as a professional. I really enjoyed engineering academically, but I wasn't sure I was ready to just work on design. I wanted to use those designs, and so being an operator and being out doing things was important to me. My experience in athletics was important to me, and I wanted to stay a part of small, high-performing teams. And so I come across one of my mentors in his Navy Reserve uniform, and the idea of joining the Navy had popped up, and I actually originally wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I mean, small, high-performing teams, check. And so that's what started my journey in the Navy, and I wound up deciding to go into aviation and learn to fly. And so the love of flying, if I haven't made that clear, the love of flying and being a part of a small, very specialized, high-performing team that gets to do things in really interesting and challenging environments, and the astronaut corps is the epitome of that. So yeah, I was lucky. I threw my hat in the ring, and they happened to need a person with my skill set.
That's brilliant. What's your favorite?
My favorite aircraft to fly is the F-18 Hornet.
There you go.
Okay, graduated from college and went to Officers Candidate School and was commissioned in 1999. Went from there to flight school and got my wings in 2001. And I finished flight training and went to learn to fly the F-18 in San Diego, actually in a Marine squadron at Miramar. And I finished F-18 training in early 2003 and showed up to my first fleet squadron in 2003. And I was in Virginia Beach from 2003 to 2006, where I deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in the summer of 2004. And from that tour, when that was completed, I went to test pilot school, and I actually did an exchange program and went to the Air Force test pilot school, even though I'm a naval aviator, and I was able to learn about test flying in Southern California. And then I went right up the road to a small outpost in the desert we call China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station, and I was a weapons and systems test pilot for 2 years. And then from there, I got to go to school full-time. They call it the Air Command and Staff College, and so, or we call it War College for short. And I was able to pursue formal education for a year full-time before going back to the fleet and flying operations based out of Japan. And then from there, I went to Washington, D.C., and was on a staff job working in Congress. And I was fortunate, really, really honored and lucky to work for the late Senator John McCain, a naval aviator himself, former naval aviator. And then I was in that job when I was selected to be an astronaut. Training for your first mission. Well, there's the basic competencies, I guess, flying T-38s, the high-performance jet flying that we do, the NBL training, the diving in the full pressure suit, the space suit, to train for spacewalks, robotics training, International Space Station systems, specifically the emergency procedures training, that really ramps up. And then there's a bunch of science and payloads, of which sometimes we are the principal thing that's being investigated. And also our foreign language training. I'm still taking Russian classes to understand the language and culture of my Russian cosmonaut colleagues. But then there's also this really interesting slice of learning to fly the Crew Dragon. And so we actually travel out to SpaceX in Hawthorne, and they have a training team that's helping us to learn the systems and operations and, again, emergency procedures that you need to know to safely fly the Crew Dragon into space. Wow, this is a test pilot's dream to be able to in any way contribute to NASA developing a new spacecraft, or one of our partners developing a new spacecraft. And so it's just been amazing to work with them and help to improve procedures and training, to learn about the vehicle, and to just spend time getting to know their flight control team and their trainers. And I'm really looking forward to working with them up to launch, and then even while we're on orbit. But it's really been an honor and a privilege. This is, I think, what a lot of the folks that go to test pilot school dream of doing. There aren't many opportunities to work on a new spacecraft. You know, the first flights of the space shuttle were a little over 30 years ago, and so it's just really amazing to be able to be here at this timing to get to work on a new spacecraft. And so it's just been an amazing opportunity.
No doubt.
You know, when I first started going out to SpaceX, when you walk in the front door, there's a conference room right off to the side, and it's really interesting because there are usually 40 laptops in there open, and there may only be like 20 people. There are more computers in there than people. But it's interesting because you can always tell the NASA folks from the SpaceX folks. Essentially, anyone not wearing a t-shirt is NASA, and all the folks in t-shirts are the SpaceX folks. So there's definitely a culture difference, and that's where I would say the most interesting dynamics have happened. We have learned a lot from them. They have learned a lot from us. And learning to fly this vehicle, not just inside in a tactical operational sense, but in a big picture organizational culture sense, we have learned a lot from them, and they've learned from us. And I would say that it's creating sort of a new culture that is some kind of a balance between the two. And they have made us better, and I think we have made them better. Oh, wow. I mean, you wake up and you have a meal, you get handed over to the SpaceX team, and SpaceX is running the show until you come back and are recovered and given back over to NASA to fly you back to Johnson Space Center. So when SpaceX takes over, they get you suited up, and you leak check your space suits, and they get you out to the launch pad. You saw them driving out in the Model X's. And that was really neat. And they take you out to the elevators there, get you up into the crew access arm, and help you get strapped into the vehicle. And there are some procedures to run through. And you're talking to the core, which is their version of similar to Capcom, the person that's speaking to the folks in the capsule. And that person is actually in Hawthorne. And so you're talking to them as you run through the procedures, and they're coordinating with the flight control team there in Hawthorne, with the folks at Launch Control at Kennedy Space Center, and also with the folks in Houston when you get to that point. And you go through some procedures on the way up to launch, and then the team that helps straps you in, they get you all buttoned up, and they close the hatch, and then they move out of the way. And when everyone else is far away from the vehicle at a safe distance, that's actually when they fuel up the vehicle. And that is one of the booster, the Falcon 9. And that's probably the most unique thing about this system, is that they fuel it up with the crew sitting there. And so we have a system, the launch escape system, which we had a test a really amazing test back in January. And they fuel the rocket up as you're sitting there, and the fueling finishes not long before liftoff. And then and you saw the rest after that. And they lit the candle and sent Bob and Doug skyward. My overriding thought when I envision us getting to that point is, don't screw up. I mean, you know, we have responsibilities, things that we're watching, and then some things that we will be doing, interacting with the vehicle, and making sure that we understand what the vehicle's doing, what it's expected to do, and what it's actually doing. And so trying to stay focused on those tasks when, again, everything I do at that point will be the first time I've done it. Actually, that's true for all of us. None of us will have flown this vehicle before. And so I think trying to, one, appreciate the magic and the accomplishment that it is to get to the first operational mission of the Dragon, but to also make sure that we're focused on our responsibilities and flying it safely. And then once we've done that safely, I think we can look back on it and appreciate that. But so trying to balance that, enjoying and living in the moment, but also managing the responsibilities to make sure that we get to space, to low Earth orbit safely. I'm looking forward to that juxtaposition of emotion. I think there are windows that would be down kind of near our feet, and so our screens are up high, and I just envision at some point being able to like take a look down and to see the Earth from a perspective that I've never seen. I've been to 64,000 feet. That's the highest up I've ever been above the ground. And so to get to a point beyond that and then be able to look down at the earth, that'll be a little special moment. But then I'll still have responsibilities, and to look back up at that display and make sure that we're on timeline. It'll be an interesting tension to manage. That's true, and it's extra true nowadays. With the dawn of this new capability, there's been a lot of uncertainty in terms of schedule, and so it's been difficult to nail down when exactly we would be there. So they can't give us the exact science or the exact set of EVAs, the spacewalks that we're going to do. And so we go with the basic building block approach. Just like when you're training for a sport, there are basic things that you do in addition to the skills of that sport, swinging a golf club or whatever. You still want to have flexibility and mobility, and so we work on spacewalking, T-38 flying, which is decision judgment, as well as the hand and eye coordination skills, the foreign language training, the technical training, and the emergency procedures training on space station, and the robotics. So we are trained to do whatever set of missions that the space station program needs us to accomplish, research to outreach. And once we get there, they will also be able to do something that I think is really amazing. And now that we have this pandemic and we've had to actually do more virtual training, it's really dusted off or increased our use of these virtual and computer-based training systems, virtual reality and computer-based training systems. And so when we get to the space station, there will also be things that they will give us just in time or on the job training for, and they'll be able to help us prepare for a specific spacecraft coming up that we're going to have to grapple with the robotic arm, or for a spacewalk to install this really unique piece of hardware onto the outside of the space station. So the ability to also train while we're in space is actually phenomenal. And being in this pandemic response, posture, we're actually having to do a lot of that kind of training nowadays to minimize in-person contact. And so it's actually really neat preparation for being on the space station.
This is an opportunity.
There's so many people that I could name. My father, Victor Glover, my mother, Cynthia, my grandparents, William and Loretta, my wife, Deanna, my daughters, Genesis, Maya, Joya, and Corinne. And there are thousands of other people that I would like to name: my trainers, my instructors, my colleagues, my crewmates at NASA, all our international partners, and the cosmonauts. All of you are a part of this mission, and we carry you with us, and it makes us want to do our best because we represent you. So thank you for your support and for your love, and know that you're flying with us on Crew 1.
Be involved in a mission like this?
It doesn't matter what you want to do. One of the most important things to your ability to achieve success is your understanding and definition of what success is. And so I think some things that are just universal are the things that I tell young folks when I go out and speak, but I think it applies to us older folks as well, and I try to live these myself. And so number one is to be gritty, Gritty, to be gritty. It means not quitting. Don't give up in the face of a challenge. And the greatest challenges you'll ever experience are from within. And if you can control these challenges, external challenges are no big deal. So number one, be gritty. Number two, be a lifelong learner. Learning inside and outside the classroom, learn to computer program, learn a foreign language. And once you learn one thing, master something, learn to play an instrument. Climb down that mountain and go ascend another mountain. And before long, you've amassed so many skills that your skill set might actually make you successful, but your ability to acquire skills is the thing that really is going to be so valuable to you in the future. So be gritty, be a lifelong learner, and the last one is to be a good teammate. That's hard, though, because you don't get to determine if you're doing a good job. It's the people to your left and your right. But that's why it's even more important for us to focus on that, because it takes the focus off of yourself. So be gritty, be a lifelong learner, and be a good teammate. I don't care what you want to do, you'll be good at it.